Hello friends, I've been wanting to do this video for a long time because I have read many times on the internet this question in many photography forums, and then the question is people asking, I would like to get into macro photography, but then my problem is generally macro lenses are rather expensive, so what are the options? And then let's go, obviously, because macro is almost infinite in options, let's go with the most basic options, and then to do a beginner macro, so I would say the most basic accessories or options you have is to use extension tubes. I have one big one here, two shorter ones here, and then you mix that with a standard lens. And then you're able to get a nice reproduction radio. Then the other option you have is to use a macro converter. So in this case here I have a Raynox, which is really good. And then you mix also that with the normal lens. And then you're able to get a nice reproduction radio as well. Obviously you can use these accessories as well with the macro lens. So you have here you have an advantage, obviously. And then okay, so to check how good each of these accessories are, we're going to do some side-to-side comparisons. So between the macro lens and then the extension tubes and the normal lens and the macro converter and the normal lens. And then to do so, I'm going to do also a second focal length. So we're going to replace this with 105 millimeters macro lens, which is a rather popular focal length for macro. And then to do the comparison as well, I will take this 105 millimeters f2.5, which is probably one of the best lenses that exists today. So by using very good lenses, I'm hope that the comparison is going to be fair between the macro lens, which is by default a really good lens, and then a normal lens with accessories. So we're going to do also side-by-side comparisons with this focal length, 105 millimeters. Okay, so before going to the comparisons, I will talk to you a bit about ergonomy of the lenses. So the practicability of the thing. So if I have a macro lens, if I want to take a macro picture, I just take a macro picture. That's it. And then if I want to take a photo far away from a bird, of a mountain, whatever, I just take my lens, I take my picture, and done. This is for practicability. Then if I want to do the same thing with the extension tube, so I'm going around with my camera, I'm taking pictures of birds or wherever, and then if I want to take a macro picture, I have to remove my lens from the camera, I have to put the extension tube, put it back to the camera, and then my range of operation, namely the distance to the subject, is rather limited. So this is big limitation, but well, these things are really cheap. But if you use them, so you better have lenses which have an aperture ring, otherwise you will be in trouble, because the extension rings with connectors are rather expensive, and I don't think they're worth it. And then the other thing is this accessory, which is the Raynox. This one I find it really nice, because you go around with your camera and you see something macro that is of interest. You just simply snap this thing on, you take your picture. Obviously you have a limited range or distance to the subject, and then you take the picture, you're done. You put it back in your bag or your pocket, and you're done. Okay, so this was for the practical aspect of each of the things. Now we're going to move to the photo comparisons, and then we'll check the performance of these lenses and accessories. So, see you then. To start the comparisons, the thing I decided to do was to get first of all a reference on the magnification. So I used the Micro-Nikkor 55, as you can see here, to take a picture of this candy here and get in 1:1 reproduction radio. So here you get an idea of the working distance of this particular lens, and then this is the image you get. And then the next thing we do is we proceed to taking the same image, so trying to reach the maximum reproduction radio we can with the Raynox and the Nikkor 55. So here you have the picture, and as you can see here you have the working distance, and then the resulting image is this image here. So this means with the Raynox, at least with the 55 millimeters, you're not getting 1:1 reproduction radio, so you have to be aware of this. Then we test also the extension ring here. So here you have the image of when I take the same photo with the extension ring. So I have one of well, this one is 52 millimeters, just to get 1/2 reproduction radio, I use a 27 millimeters, so it will be a bit shorter here, but I didn't take that picture. So, and the working distance, it's quite small, as you can see here. Okay, so, and this is the image you get with the Nikkor extension ring. So now we're going to compare things, and to do so I took also a picture with a reduced reproduction radio of with the Nikkor Micro-Nikkor 55. So let me put the images here. So here first I put the Micro-Nikkor 55 in this position. Here I will put the Raynox, and then in the last position I will take, and then this one will be NP because I don't have anything here. So you get the three images of the candy. As you can see, well, this one I'm pretty sure is 1/2 reproduction radio, because this is what you get by extending the 55 millimeters by half the focal length. Then the Raynox we can see is quite close, and then the Micro-Nikkor I try to reach the 1/2 just by looking at the indications on the ring. Okay, so if we take a closer look, so we can see the candy. So if I remember correctly, okay, let's go back before. So we take a look at the big picture. So first thing you see is that the perspective is rather different between the Micro-Nikkor, the Raynox and the extension ring. So remember that this Raynox and extension ring is exactly the same lens we're using. And then you have a slight change of perspective. With the macro lens, you see you have zero distortion here, as we can see in the box. With the Raynox, you don't have a lot of distortion, as we can see here. You have some vignetting here in the corner, but well, it's not very important. And then with the extension ring, you're able to see that there's indeed some distortion coming to the image. From a distance, everything looks quite good, I would say. And then we can zoom into the images. So the focusing was done. It was done around this region here. So, and as we can see, all images look very good. So you have the Raynox has a lot of detail. So the macro lens as well. So well, here is a bit hard to tell who may be sharper because of the changes of perspective, but all images looks really good, with the extension ring producing the images with less sharpness, because yeah, you get some effects of diffraction due to extending the focal length. But overall, all photos look good. And then yes, at the end, I would say you can take any of the three options. They look rather good, depending if you can live, for example, here with the vignetting without absolute macro magnification. If you use a 50mm lens, and here you have which is the extension ring is like the cheapest option, but then you have some distortion and the Raynox, some vignetting, and then you see the macro lens. Yeah, is the overall best performer here. So to get therefore with the 55mm a 1:1 reproduction radio that we got naturally with the macro lens, we had to extend the 55mm to, well, I use extension ring of 52.5. Which is the ring which goes with the 105mm. So I'm a bit lower than 1:1 reproduction radio here, and then to get with the Raynox an almost 1:1 reproduction radio, I had actually to use the Raynox and the 27mm extension ring. So I will use this slot here so you will be able to see that. So this is what I use in that case to get this 1:1 reproduction radio. So I use the Raynox and one 27mm extension ring, which is the one that goes with the 55mm lens, and then here you get the what you need to do to get the 1:1 reproduction radio. Okay, so I will leave this image here. No, I will take it away. Okay, and here you have still perspective is not exactly the same with the three options we're testing, but yeah, they look okay. And then yeah, if you're doing macro, I would say you don't care much about what is in the background, unless it's part of the composition, obviously. Okay, so here we have the three lenses. So again, the focusing was done in this region here, on these lines. Here we can see that obviously the macro lens is producing the best resolution, and you have a good, very good sharpness here on this part, these lines, and the small dust of sugar, I guess. Okay, and then since the perspective is not exactly the same, so the points are the image are not completely in sync, and then here you get yeah, image is good, but then you have an overall loss of sharpness, because obviously you're using as well the extension ring, which brings some diffraction effects into the image taking process. But so far my feeling is that yeah, the alternatives to the macro lens, which obviously produce the best results, it has the most flexibility, and I would say are rather good. The Raynox is good. Then you have the extension ring, which is good. It's also the cheapest option. I would say the less flexible, but yeah. And then if you get the macro conversion cup, which is the Raynox, why not getting some extension rings, and then you can play with both, and then as we did here to reach the 1:1 reproduction ratio. Okay, now we're going to move to 105mm lens. Okay, we'll start again with the comparison. So here we change the setup, and then we use the 105mm lens, which we have here, and then we're taking a picture of a pasta elephant that you have here. This is the working distance you get from using the macro lens, which, as I say and I insist, has the most flexibility when working with. Then this is the resultant image you get. We're going to compare them afterwards, and so don't worry. And then I took an image of the same elephant with the 105mm f2.5 and the Raynox. So this is the working distance. Good thing is in this case we reach almost or we are very close to 1:1 reproduction radio. And then the last thing we did, which was rather cumbersome, was using the camera with the extension rings. But then if you want to get 1:1 reproduction radio, you have to be aware that the longer your focal distance, the longest you have to extend the lens. So for 105mm you have to extend by 105mm. So this is what you get here, which is very cumbersome. And then this is the kind of image you get. So rather dark, because you're extending the lens too much. But well, that's it. Okay, so this is it. Now we're going to move to the comparison, so to see what are the changes in quality. So as before, I put the Micro-Nikkor here, then I put the Raynox here in this position. I did quite a few test images, so I want to just make sure I'm getting the best. And then last, the extension rings. So you see here that the image is actually darker, and then this is because yeah, you're creating a light fall-off by extending the lens. So this is the elephant, and overall it looks good with all the images. Obviously with the extension rings you have to take more time to take the picture to get an equivalent illumination in comparison with the other lenses. And then you get some vignetting also with the extension rings. So I would say using extension rings, it's good, but don't abuse it, because yeah, you get quite a few problems. Otherwise, then we get a close image, so we can take a look at the details. So and then the way I did these images was to take this small hair of, I don't know what it is, as reference to do my focusing. I did the focusing manually, and then here I'm on 100% crop, and then this is what you get. So as you can see here, around the focus area, the macro lens is a clear winner. So let me check, even if I take the other image, that was a bit offset. Yeah, and the result is quite equivalent. I just wanted to make sure that I was taking the best image out of the lot. So you're getting, I would say, the colors, everything. They look. I prefer honestly the look of the macro lens. But I have, however, the feeling that I'm still getting some larger depth of field with the Raynox, which is also a good trade-off. And then I guess this is because the working distance was not exactly the same, but overall it's really good. And then yeah, with the extension rings, yeah, extending too much, yeah, it doesn't seem like a very good idea, because as you can see here, you get quite some big loss in sharpness and yeah, and illumination. So this is it for the comparisons. Then just to finish, because you're also able to do this, I made just an image for fun, where I took the macro lens, and then I put the Raynox, which is also an option if you have a macro lens and then you're thinking about getting a Raynox. And then this is the image I got. So I think I'm getting 2.5 reproduction radio, and then as you can see, the image is very good. So my general feeling is all three options are really good if you want to do macro. Obviously the macro lens is designed for that, so it will provide the best performance anyway. The Raynox is a very good option as well, as we saw. You have some loss of quality, but it's negligible, I would say. And then with the extension rings, which is I would say the cheapest option, you saw that there is some loss in performance, but overall it works. You just simply need not to abuse it. Okay, so that was all for my analysis. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and then see you next week. And then next week we're going to do a similar experiment, but with microscope objectives. So see you soon.